That was awesome.
You got any questions?
Let's go with Ronald. Ronald?
Would it stop you to write Pale Horse? I don't really want to talk about that. To be honest. I appreciate you asking.
How about
I've tried to avoid talking about Oceania too much because in past albums people end up making up their own stories, and so I left it really vague. I'll talk about it in 20 years.
How about Tyson?
I wanted to know if you find the new sound and the new band is more a reinvention or an extension of the old Pumpkins to the new.
He's asking about whether I consider the new sound of the band to be a reinvention or a continuation. I look at it as a continuation that includes all the music I've done. People get really proprietary about the name. I don't really care anymore. To me, I have a musical set of interests, and Oceania includes things I was interested in Zwan, things I was interested in The Future Embrace, things I was interested in I guess. It's a progressional thing, maybe that's the way I look at it. I think what's probably confusing is that because I tended to work so conceptually, so even on an album like Siamese Dream, I was like, I want to do this kind of music this way. So it's confusing to people when you do something else another way. They think that somehow it's a statement of totality. And Oceania is probably the first album I've ever made, maybe since Gish, where it's a statement of totality. Where I said, I'm just going to do whatever I want to do and not get segmented. Like, if I was going to criticize Zeitgeist, the last Smashing Pumpkins album before, to me it was too narrow. But I had to be very narrow to figure something out that I could only figure out by being narrow. And I think the public's used to bands or artists kind of putting their best foot forward always. It's confusing to them if an artist doesn't put their best foot forward. But I've learned a lot by not putting my best foot forward. And so, a few people have asked, so in Oceania, what's different? And I was like, well, as if to say, in our eyes, you haven't been making qualitative albums for a long time, so why this step back up? And I was like, well, I just went back to that place that allowed myself to go to that place. Because everything in our culture, that's North American culture, is driven on success first, material success being the author of all action. And in my eyes, that's not been the driver of my action. I've been lucky because I've been able to do really creative things and get away with it and or be rewarded for it. But when I haven't been rewarded for it, I'm almost treated like an idiot, as if I didn't know what I was doing when I did it right. But the right is somebody else's right, it's not my right. So, anybody else?
Yeah, I'd like to know, what do you do for fun other than play music?
What do I do for fun? Not much really. I mean, we're pretty busy most of the time. We spend a lot of time together. We have fun together. But outside of that, I have 2 doggies and 2 kitties. I love spending time with my animals. I have a nice house. I love just being home reading. I have a pretty simple life. I have not really embraced the rock star life for a long time. So my life's actually pretty simple. I mean, a good game, whether it's, not that there's any hockey, but I went to watch the World Series last night, but I mean, I've been to Stanley Cup Finals. I went to the Super Bowl last year, so to me that's fun. Just being kind of a normal person.
Christina.
Will Resistance Pro make an appearance in the band?
She's asking about my wrestling company, Resistance Pro. Yeah, actually, we want to go national. We're hoping, I'm trying to get a reality show made with the company so that if we can do a reality show, we can maybe build a brand up. But I feel like we could come to a place like Toronto with the right names and run. The question is the economic models are really difficult in indie wrestling. The difference between a successful show and a bad show might be 200 to 400 people. And my celebrity only goes so far. I mean, the other night when we were in Chicago, it's Chicago, my hometown, 6,000 people there. I said, how many people here like wrestling? And probably only about 100 people raised their hands. So just because I'm famous in their eyes, it doesn't necessarily translate to those people are going to come to this wrestling company. So we've struggled with kind of finding the crossover in the audience, and ultimately it's about how big the wrestling company is.
I think we have time for one more. Can James?
Bad name, sorry.
I apologize. First of all, thanks for coming back to Toronto. It's been too long.
When's the last time we were in Toronto?
2008.
Really? Wow.
Massive ball.
Yeah.
It's been too
Was
long.
that 20th anniversary trip?
Yeah.
I remember those shows.
They were great shows. Anyway, sorry. I basically have a question about digital downloads and packaging. I'm very much a traditional music buyer, and I know there's not many of us left.
Yeah.
I buy product. So I, first of all, really appreciate the first 3 reissues. The packaging has been fantastic. I really
Right.
appreciate the quality of those. And I just want to say, going forward, I would like to not forget us, the traditional music buyers, especially if the Lucky 13 or whatever the archive thing launches. There will always be people like us who will pay the premium to get the physical product.
Yeah.
And
The problem is, if I could talk about them, I put together, or asked to put together an ad hoc group of fans, we call it the Lucky 13, with the idea that they would help recommend, I believe you're a part of that now, recommend. And unfortunately, they did their own kind of polling and stuff. Their polls basically came back exactly the same as the general public, which is really funny when you think about that. There really is no difference anymore between let's call it a hardcore fan and the general public. Now, to divert for a second, we face it every night when we face an audience. We don't get to face 6,000 hardcore Smashing Pumpkins fans who want to hear, the 7B side. We face the general public who judges us like the general public would. How many hits did you play? Was the show entertaining? Did I get a fair return on my investment, my money? So extending back into the archival stuff, the difficulty is if let's say, now I don't know how many people would classify themselves as a really dedicated Smashing Pumpkins fan around the world. Let's say it's 50,000 or 100,000. Let's say it's even 200,000. The problem is there aren't 5,000 people out of that number that will pay an absolute premium to get this material out. And that was the most disappointing thing about the polling within the Lucky 13. Those people did not say, I will pay $100 to be guaranteed an exclusive release that will guarantee me a physical product, like you're saying, and say I will pay a premium. Their pricing was the exact same as the general public. And so the difficulty is if I fish out and say, let's put out a concert. If I go at that level of pricing, just let's say $25 for 2 discs, which is pretty standard, right? Or maybe a little bit more for a deluxe with artwork or something, $30. The problem is the economic models don't work to actually produce that for the amount of time it would take. And then that price point actually draws in the general public who will criticize it on its other value, which isn't the fan value. So for example, if you put out the Double Door shows, which are the shows the Pumpkins played before we did Melancholy, which there's issues, technical issues. A hardcore fan would, let's say, it doesn't matter what they pay. They could look at the show and go, well, that's the first time they ever played most of the Melancholy songs. Yeah, the audio's a little suspect. Yeah, the guitar's loud, but I just want to hear it as an archival. I want to be there. The general public doesn't give a shit about that. They look at it as a qualitative issue. A fan looks at it as a quantitative issue, is what do I get that I already don't have? The general public is like qualitative. So we're stuck in between 2 gears. If I had enough of a fan base that would pay that absolute premium, then I could actually build whatever I wanted, and then we can draw in the general public with curiosity, or offer them, let's call it, the best of the Double Door. Okay, you get the best of the Double Door for $15. We've already self-sustained. We've not been able to build self-sustaining models where there's enough hardcore fans to drive the hardcore stuff to then turn around to the general public and say, here's a compilation of their shows. Here's the best of this style. Until we cross that bridge, I'm basically in the same boat. And and she knows, hardcore fans are the most pernicious, the most judgmental, and they're most likely also to share download. So let's say we put out something that people don't like, then all they're going to do is share it amongst each other. I'll end pulling the bag for $20 to $30 to $50,000, and if I go and complain about it, they're going to tell me I'm an asshole and haven't I already made enough money. So we're in this vicious circle where the band can't release archival material and satisfy this end. We can't release archival material and satisfy this end because we don't sell enough. So far the reissues are at least the best common good. You have a record label that's willing to put up the money to drive the model, and at least it's a beginning, and hopefully maybe over the next 3 to 5 years, there'll be enough new fans coming in, we see a lot of young faces now, that would actually help generate that foundational base. Because to me as a fan, if I'm willing to pay $35 for a Japanese, $35 to $40 for a Japanese bootleg of dubious quality, why wouldn't I therefore be willing to pay that for a single disc? So let's say it's $80. If fans, 3,000 fans were willing to pay $80 for an archival project and vote what they want to come out. There's their economic model. I don't lose any money. I certainly don't have to go to old band members and try to get them to fish out money. That's not going to happen. But you can't talk about these. I mean, yes, I'm talking about them publicly, but it's within the context that we're in, right? I can't go in an interview and complain. It's very, very difficult. And I talked about it in South by Southwest. Fans, and I use this word very humbly, fans got to get out of this victim mentality, which is that the bands are exploiting them. If the record business has exploited them for so long, they associate the bands with it. Now that the bands are stepping out and don't want to be part of that model anymore, I'm included, we don't want to be part of that. You can't punish us for the old ways. And ultimately, fans have to create new models. So if fans would sit there and come to me and say, hey, we don't think it's enough for our value. Like, let's say you need $80 on the project. Well, here's what we'd like for $80. We want this, this, and this, and that work. And the problem is the fans haven't yet to step forward with any new models. They basically go, hey, I'll pay the same thing I paid down at HMB. But that doesn't come back to me. You know what I'm saying? It's difficult. And I can't stand up and say it's got to be about me, because then I end up getting attacked. I don't want it to be about me. I've said to many fans, if you could prove to me that the archival project wouldn't make any money, and all it would do is would help generate this other level of artistic legacy from the band, particularly from the past, that fans can enjoy and get that stuff out, I don't care. I don't see it as a money-making thing. I see it as a self-sustaining project like a garden. Help invest, create more material, put more stuff out and make it available, and then everybody moves on. But the way it's set up now is I might end up pulling the bag on something, and who am I going to complain to? And that's what I try to tell hardcore fans is, once I get burned one time by fans, once people jump all over it and criticize and say, oh, the audio quality's not good, or I got ripped off, and I'm not going to buy the next thing, that's the end of it. So it's made me really conservative and pull back, and I just have to keep waiting for the right moment, and hopefully the art reissues will help create the right ones. Anyway, thanks for listening.